Howdy YouTubers and fans. Right now, we're looking at a mystery deck that I'll show you. I'm not sure what most of you would think of it. Yes, it's a traditional deck. Most of the cards in it are somewhat difficult to get. Got from a buddy of mine whom removed 2 cards, one of which I'll tell you when it comes to showing you one of the very least fave cards if you're one of those folks don't like cheap ass cards. If you don't know what I'm trying to get at, this is a traditional deck, which most of you seen from my Toon deck. That was a traditional deck. This is a really traditional deck, which pretty much takes anything out of the ordinary to use. Now, it's a 45 card deck, 5 more what you would usually use, but very useful. Now, there's 22 spell and traps and 23 monsters. So, we'll start out with the spells. There's a silver name, Shallow of the Grave, which most of you are aware. Both players can special summon one monster from their respective graveyard, but face down in defense. Good for most decks, and you'll find out later in this video. Next is Snatch and Steal. Very good, common, no specialties to it. Take control of your opponent's monster, and each turn, or each of his or her standby phase, they gain 1,000. So, next card. A golden name, Hollow, Change of Heart. You can select one of your monsters and take control of it until the end of your turn. Next is Pot of Greed. Again, draw 2 cards. Premature Burial. Now, you pay 800 to bring back 1 monster in attack mode, and their silver name for the Pot of Greed, if I haven't mentioned yet. Now, shiny background, Lightning Vortex. Discard 1 card and destroy 1 face-up monster on your destroy all face-up monsters on your opponent's side of the field. Now, next one is a Graceful Charity. Now, hollowed background, but and little card in the picture, and you can draw 3 cards, but you have to discard 2. Next card is Monster Reborn. Silver name. Brings back either player. You can select 1 monster from either player's graveyard and special summon it to your side of the field. Magical Melt. This card's background is shiny and whatnot, and it's not in my top 10 faves, but it's proven useful. You can enter any number of cards from your hand back to your deck, shuffle, and then you can draw that many back. Heavy Storm. Now, it destroys all spells and traps on the field. Now, next card, my personal shiny background, Burden the Mighty. Now, as most of you don't know what this card does, each face-up monster on your opponent's monsters that are face-up on the field, you can... Sorry if I'm... Sorry if I'm pausing a little bit. For every monster on your opponent's side of the field, it takes 100, takes off 100 attack for every level it has. Now next, Common Swords of Relieving Light. And that's the end of spells and traps. And all of them were 1. Now on to the next part, and it's traps. A common draining shield. Now on to the next one, a common dust tornado. Now, a golden name, silver background, Call of the Haunted. Really good for most stuff. Next is a silver named Horn of the Heaven. Tribute a monster. Negate any normal summon, special summon, or flip summon of a monster and destroy it. Now, shiny background, Divine Wrath. Discard a card from your hand, negate the activation and the effect of an effect monster and destroy the monster. Next, shiny background, Soul Rope. You can only activate it and pay 1,000 life points when a monster you control is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, and you can special summon one level 4 from your level 4 monster. And actually, I forgot to organize. I apparently have 2 Drain Shields and 2 Dust Tornadoes. Last trap is Mirror Force. Really useful card if you're up against an opponent that has a bunch of really nasty cards on the field. Now, we're moving on to the monsters, which the first card is, I shall name, would be good to add the other counterpart in, and it's the Chaos Dragon or Chaos Emperor Dragon in Void of the End. Now you can add Blackluster Soldier in Void of the Beginning to this deck, but can't remember the other card he took out, but that's definitely the 2 I would recommend having in this traditional deck. Next is Tribe Infected Virus. Now, if most of you haven't played any of the video games or seen this before. If you discard a card from your hand and declare one type of monster, destroy all face-up monsters with that type, and it would be perfect for any type of deck, unless you have if you're up against a different deck. Next would be Reflected Bound. Now, of course, most of you will know if your opponent monster attacks this, yeah, you take a little damage, but your opponent takes equal to your opponent's monster. Next is Yatagarasu, which is very useful because when this card attacks your opponent, your opponent can't draw their next turn, but comes back to your hand. Next is Witch of the Black Forest. Very easy to have on the field because its effect is when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard. It doesn't necessarily say you have to sacrifice it or anything. So, very good to have. Now, DD Warrior Lady, really? Well, really good to remove monsters if you need. Now, this next card's in Chinese, making it traditional and whatnot. A Chinese version of Skull Summon Skull, or Summon Skull. Now, I'm going to say this once. I'll have another one coming up somewhere else, but Pen the Dark Clown, really good to special remove from play and special summon another one. Great Marju Garzette, really good because the monster you sacrifice, the attack of that monster doubles. The Creator, this can't be special summoned from the grave. Once per turn, you can special summon one monster from your graveyard. Then send one card from your hand to the graveyard and special summon that monster. Light and Darkness Dragon. Really good for, well, not sure, but I don't really care. Now on to the rest of the deck. Boros Raider. Barrel Dragon, which if you flip a coin 3 times and if it's 2 out of the 3, then you can destroy all face-up monsters on your opponent's side of the field. Now on to Masked